The fires of the Forge have been lit, and man, we're getting some fire. Glorious recently announced, along with a rebrand, the launch of the Forge, which is their take on limited run or group buy items. They kick things off with their much loved pink Model O, which, while it looks amazing, not being wireless kind of hurt my soul a little bit. They followed up with a set of pink grapefruit gradient caps, which looks like a gorgeous addition to any pink setups that are out there. Which, if you're interested in the keycap set, that's still open until the 27th, so if you want those, you should go place your order now. But recently, they just announced the bombshell that is the Model O Pro. This is following the trend we've seen lately of companies releasing competitive or pro versions of their mice, like with the Viper V2 or the G Pro Superlight. While it's just been announced and the group buy launches today, people seem to have a lot of questions. So I figured it'd be wise to release a quick video running down the specs and what you can expect from this group buy. Given that it's a group buy in pre-order status, I don't have one in hand, but I'm fairly comfortable with the Model O. It's been my main for quite a while. I've used all versions of it, and I'm hoping that I can help you decide whether or not this might be something you want to jump in on. Given that by the time my order shows up, the group buy will be over, so we're just better talking about it now. And in spite of Glorious's best attempt to make this as crystal clear as possible, people seem to still have a ton of questions, so let's go! Okay, so first things first. Unlike Glorious's normal pre-order release schedule, this is being labeled as a group buy, which, yes, technically is true, but it's important to remember that pretty much all of Glorious's releases in the past have had some kind of a pre-order status. The difference here being that while normal Glorious products go on sale after the pre-order period, these mice will no longer be available. At least for now. The group buy period runs from today, May 24th, to June 7th. So you've got 2 weeks to get your order in if you want to snag one. Glorious states that the mouse is expected to ship by the end of August, September of this year. The Model O Pro features an updated tooling from the traditional Model O. It's losing the traditional honeycomb design and going for a more updated look. But they're also ditching the traditional RGB, giving us a mouse that's lighter than even the Model O Minus wired at 55 grams. That's light. Really light. Yeah, that's right. 55 grams. Obviously, I don't have one in hand to specifically weigh it, but generally speaking, Glorious's mice have always been on point when I weigh them, so I have no reason to believe that this one won't be 55 grams in hand. The Model O Pro is supposed to have an updated texture to produce a better grip than the traditional Model O. This is along the lines of like the Viper, where it feels almost like a PBT plastic and it's real grippy, opposed to something like the G Pro Superlight, which is a much smoother touch. Battery life is listed at 80 plus hours. This is pretty close to what Glorious has claimed on their other wireless variants at about 70 hours, but given that they're chopping out the RGB, I'm sure this is relatively accurate. The sensor seems to be the same 19K BAMF sensor that we've seen in most of their most recent releases. Doesn't seem to be any major changes there. The switches are being advertised as 80 million click switches, which, if I had to guess, these are the same that we just saw in the most recent Model I release, which are an upgrade over the traditional 20mm Omrons that we see in something like the Model O wireless. Connection type, USB-C. I saw a lot of people asking about this, which I don't know why, because the original Model O was USB-C. I don't know if people just have a bad taste in their mouth after Razer and Logitech released mice with micro USB, but either way, it's USB-C. Ditching the traditional black and white that Glorious has normally released, we're getting 3 gorgeous colors. We've got Red Fox with black accent, Golden Panda with black accent, and Blue Lynx with a white accent. Also of note, for those that have a problem with it, it seems like we're getting a more stripped down branding, with the Beardy Boy on the left inside being gone, replaced with a traditional Glorious typeface, and the Forge logo on the outside of the mouse. Judging from photos and renders, it looks to have the same feet as the traditional Model O, so any sets of feet you have, including G-floats, should work here. This group buy is open from today, May 24th to June 7th of 2022. I've seen a lot of people complain about the fact that this is a group buy, and I get it. Part of the issue with group buys is you usually end up waiting, sometimes a year or longer, to receive the product that you. Sometimes you might not even want it at that point. I don't think that's something to worry about here. A couple of other Forge releases have a listed ship date of July, August. And as mentioned, Glorious states that the ship date on the Model O Pro should be expected around late August, September of this year. That's only a couple of months. That's pretty in line with the recent pre-orders we've seen from them. That's a fairly quick turnaround time. If I had to guess, I have no reason to believe that Glorious will not hit that target ship date. In terms of it being a limited time offer, sure, I get it. Some people might not have the money, or they just might not want to order a mouse right now. Maybe you just bought a G Pro Superlight or a Razer V2, and you can't, or you just don't want to, justify spending more money on a mouse. That makes sense. It's important to remember here that while Glorious has stated that this is a limited run, there isn't a limited number of copies, so if you order one, you're gonna get one. There's also the note that Glorious might release these pending demand for the product to come back, although only time will tell with that. Another important factor to consider is release schedule. We're getting mice at a pretty alarming rate these days. So much that you could certainly call it overkill if it wasn't for people like me who are willing to buy the latest and greatest just because. The Model O wireless was released less than 2 years ago. And it's only been about 3 years since the original release of the Model O. By the time the original Model O was released, people were already asking for a wireless version, or a version without holes, or a smaller version, and on and on and on. Also, not long after the Model O release, Logitech and Razer and pretty much all of the big companies fired back with versions of their own. The market is crazy competitive right now, requiring companies to pretty much update their products every year or so. And if I had to guess, that probably is hell on design and production teams at these companies. The market is pretty much demanding that companies refresh their line every year or so. And that's probably a pretty demanding task. And if in order for us to get the cutting edge of gaming mice means we have to go through a pre-order cycle, I'm fine with that. If I miss one or two, I'm fine with that, because I know there's going to be another one right around the corner. But if you're not okay with that for whatever reason, I think that's okay. I don't think you have anything to worry about here. There are still plenty of other great options out there for you. The G Pro Superlight, the Razer V2 is pretty close to the shape of the Model O. But it's also worth noting, given the incredibly competitive nature of these companies recently, there's a good chance if you don't pick up this mouse, there's gonna be either another version of the Model O or something else that you might like better not far behind it. While the Model O Pro is going to be a welcome upgrade to the original Model O wireless for me, it isn't going to be some magical mouse that elevates my gaming level. So I wouldn't worry too much about the FOMO. Just enjoy what you have, and when you can, either pick this up or pick up another mouse that you enjoy. And for those that are looking for either a Model O minus or maybe a Model D version of this mouse, I wouldn't worry about that much either. If you look at the Glorious Forge website, they are clearly planning more mice releases in, I would say, the relatively near future. So I would just keep your eyes peeled on the Glorious Forge website. Okay, well, yeah, that's about it for this. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. If you do want this mouse, I suggest you don't wait, you order now. I'm ordering mine right now after I record this. Thanks for watching. Please drop a like or subscribe if you can, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!